Let's talk today about what it's like to be on a movie set on Casting Actors Cast.
This is Casting Actors Cast. Each episode takes you behind the scenes and answers your questions about the business of show. Please don't forget to subscribe and like wherever you get your podcasts. Now here's the host of Casting Actors Cast, Jeffrey Dreisbach.
Well, hello, and welcome to this episode of Casting Actors Cast. I'm casting director Jeffrey Dreisbach. Wow, so nice to have you here today. We're talking today about what it's like to be on a movie set. I'm going to go through a day on a set for you today, just so that you can kind of have an experience about what that feels like, and so that you'll know what that's like when it happens to you. And maybe if it's already happened to you, you can remember what that was like. So the good, the bad, the sad, the glad, the indifference, all of that on today's episode. But as you know, this is usually that moment in the podcast where I want to say thank you so very, very much for tuning in to Casting Actors Cast. Please go to castingactorscast.com. You'll find all kinds of goodies and information. I've got some free handouts based on some previous podcast episodes. Also, if you click on the Dive into the Talent Pool, that'll take you to the free, yes, I did say free, downloadable book that I wrote on voiceover work called Conversation Pieces Out of the Studio, the voiceover workshop for professional actors. That's absolutely free. In addition to that, on that page, you can find, if you feel like, this podcast has helped you in any way, if there's been some value and you want to support this podcast, then I'm thrilled to tell you that we are also on Patreon, and you can show your support by going there. I'm not asking for, large amounts of money, but maybe there's something you could throw my way in terms of improving our equipment here, improving some of the quality of the technical things that we've got going on, because I always want to make it better. I always want to make sure that I get the best possible information to you as I can. Additionally, any contribution that you make to the Patreon, a portion of which will go to Actors Equity Association, Equity Fights AIDS. So it's a really wonderful organization that's helping performers out there who might be afflicted with this horrible, horrible disease. And that's what Patreon can do. So a portion of that will go towards Equity Fights AIDS, and then another portion will go towards helping me get, better quality equipment and improving the quality of the product overall. So I can't thank you enough for that. I'd like to talk about today what it's like to be on a film set. But taking it back from before you show up on the set, let's just assume you've had the audition. Now, oftentimes the audition will take place in a casting director's office. In fact, every film I've booked has taken place in a casting director's office or in a studio. And once you get the callback, it really becomes more like a screen test where you replicate what you did in the original audition, and then maybe there is a director there who's going to give you some other adjustments. Now, there have been situations where the director of the film isn't actually in the room, but the casting director is giving you some acting notes or some acting adjustments. And that's very, very common. Usually, once the first round of actors for a particular role have been seen, then the director will chat with the casting director about, fine-tuning what he's looking for, fine-tuning what that vision might be. And so it's not unusual for the casting director to say, we really like what you did at your audition, but you know what? We think that the character should be a little more edgy, or, some kind of strange adjective like that, or a little more intense, or a little more unhappy, or start off happy and then become angry. You know what I'm saying? So that might be direction from a casting director. They'll shoot that as well, and if things go your way, you get a call from your agent who's informing you that you have booked the job. The next thing that happens is that your phone number and information is given to the wardrobe department so that you can talk about your wardrobe. So that's very exciting, right? Now, sometimes a wardrobe call, they just want to know sizes. They also would like to know, sometimes, not all the time, but there are times when they say, this person needs to be wearing a 3-piece suit. Do you have a 3-piece suit? If you do have a 3-piece suit, would you mind bringing it in just so that we can take a look at it? Or there may be some very specific costuming that's taking place on the project, in which case they might want you to go in for a fitting. They'll take measurements, they'll put on various clothes, they'll kind of show you an idea about what they're looking for, and you'll also have a good sense of your character because you've gone to this costume fitting and now you're seeing what the vision is for the costumer in this production for you, because now it's you doing the role. Additionally, you'll be given a specific date and time. If this is a shoot that's taking place away from where you live, then obviously those transportation arrangements are being made, usually through your agent. If you don't have an agent, then you're getting called from the production department who sets up whatever transportation, housing, whatever that particular job requirement requires. The job requirement requires. I guess that's okay. I guess we'll leave that, right? So now comes the day of the shoot. Almost all the time, I can tell you from experience that your call time, the time that you're supposed to show up on the set, is either one of two things. Usually it's either really, really early in the morning, or it's really, really late at night. It's going to be like an overnight shoot. It's never like, 10:15, come in for some coffee, and then we'll kind of relax and get into it. No. It's like 6 a.m. There'll be somebody to pick you up and take you to the set. Now, whether the set's an interior set or whether it's outside or an exterior location, there are various accommodations that are being made for you. What I love are what we call the honey wagons. The honey wagons are small individual dressing rooms connected together to look like a long, big, boxy trailer. And sometimes the honey wagons have room for 2 actors that share, or you get your own individual dressing room. But it really is just a trailer with many times it's a toilet and a shower. It's nice. It's an accommodating kind of thing, and they want you to be comfortable and relaxed, and your costume is hanging in the honey wagon. And it's kind of fun because your name is on the door, so you go to your honey wagon. A PD or a production assistant or some other designated person, a grip, will take you to your honey wagon, at which time what has usually happened is that you're given an idea about when you need to go to makeup and when they are planning on shooting your scene or scenes during the course of the day. So I've gotten to a set at 6 a.m. and they've said, we want you to go to makeup right away. We're going to start shooting at 7 a.m. It's like, wow, great. So you go right to makeup. Now, sometimes they say, well, we're not sure what time your scene is going to be shot, or your first scene will be shot. We think it's going to be around 11 o'clock. We'll let you know. Just hang out here. And you do. You just hang out in the honey wagon. You look at your words, but here's a suggestion for you. If you've had this experience happen already, you know that what I'm saying is going to be really helpful. But it's great to have an audio book. It's great to have your cell phone with you. It's great that you have some kind of communicating device so that you can either watch television, because there are no televisions in honey wagons usually, or you can, maybe you can listen to a past episode of Casting Actors Cast. So the point is that it's hurry up and wait. That's been sort of the whole thing, is that you're just there and you're waiting, and it becomes really, really tedious, and soon it gets really, really boring, so that, you might want to kind of put your head outside of the trailer, or you might want to walk outside a little bit if you're in an exterior, but you might want to meet your fellow actor next door. So all kinds of things can happen, but make sure that you stay in kind of close proximity, because immediately what will happen is somebody will be running and saying, you got to go make up right away. They're going to be shooting you in 15 minutes. Of course, that's not all the time, but you understand that sometimes it's like hurry up and wait and then hurry up and let's get going. So the next step is, of course, is the makeup. You meet the makeup artists. Usually it's in a separate trailer if it's an exterior, or it's in a side designated area if it's an interior, or it could be specifically on a set. It could be in the makeup room. And so there you will meet the makeup artist who will apply whatever appropriate makeup is for the particular shoot. Then they'll take you back to your trailer, whereupon you put on your costume that you tried on from the costume department, and then you are escorted to the set. Are you with me so far? Are you reliving this experience with me? Because it's very exciting. It's a lot of fun. But most important, when you show up on the set, be ready to work. You should know by the callback that you had and the direction you were given, or maybe not given any, that if you weren't given any direction, simply keep in mind that you want to recreate what you did at your callback that was so successful, if you know what that is. Now, if you don't know what that is, then you can't do anything about that, but you can try to recreate the work that you did. That's a good place to start. Now, that is oftentimes the very first time you might even meet the director. You've done the audition, you've done the callback with notes, you've gone to the set, you've gotten your makeup on, you put on your clothes, and now you go to the set and the director might look up from the camera if he's working with a director of photography, might say hello or shake your hand and say, nice to see you. Let's see it. Let's see the scene. So he'll help and set up what's taking place during the course of the scene. Now, this can be a time of, it can be very nerve-wracking in a way, because you're nervous because you're going to be on camera and you're going to be performing. You're now meeting a fellow performer if that's the situation that you've been hired to do. Maybe there are several performers in the scene. I remember when I did a scene in Splash with Tom Hanks, we were surrounded by, another dozen reporters and then extras outside of that. So it was kind of chaos. And Rod Howard was directing that film, and he really was very specific about how he wanted the shot to look and feel. And just kind of a side story, I just loved Ron Howard. Was just like this kind of magical person, I think. He's just really so cool. But what I loved is as he's describing how the scene is going to get shot, he's actually doing verbal sound effects to accompany what he's describing. So here's kind of what he did. He said, okay, so the van pulls up, the doors fly open, and then out Tom will come from the revolving door, and he'll get surrounded by these reporters. Ah! It was so cool. So now you've met the director, now that the scene is set up, you might be given the opportunity to do a rehearsal, which is, let's just try it once. That way the director of photography can set up the shot the way he wants. The lighting person can adjust whatever lights they need. The sound person knows what's going to take place in the scene. And so it becomes kind of a convergence, good word, of all of these things, all of the situational things that are taking place. So that is what the day is like. The scene might get shot several times. There may be a couple of different points of view, for example, that get shot. The director may throw in some, ad-libbing kind of stuff, or it just may go very, very efficiently, just depending upon the energy on the set, the style of the piece that you're working on. It could go just very, very cleanly and move on to the next scene, or be dismissed for the day if you've only working on one or two scenes or whatever. So it's an exciting time, but yet it's this bizarre thing of waiting around and then suddenly having to produce. So I love it when actors really call upon their foundational work, perhaps their theater background, that they have the ability to stay focused and concentrated when they need to, and they also have the ability to kind of pull themselves out, sit in the trailer, relax, and not preoccupy themselves too much, stay focused on, what is about to take place if it hasn't happened already. And also when the day is done, it's just the reverse. You go your honey wagon, you take off your costume, you wash your face, and then your transportation, whatever is being arranged for you, takes you home. And then you go home, and I suddenly see a large martini in your future as you celebrate your day on the set. So some things that can happen on set are problematic. I've been in situations where the scene just kept on going and going and going, where they really couldn't find, or some technical thing happens. That's probably more often than not the case, that something technical isn't quite right. Whether it's a sound issue or a lighting issue or a prop issue. And that was the other thing I think that I wanted to share with you that's kind of really surprising, is that it's not just you and a camera and the director. Usually the shot, there are like dozens of people that are standing behind the camera. There's a continuity person who's writing down everything that takes place. If the director throws additional lines at you or whatever, that continuity person has to script that into the original script again. There are prop people. The prop master is in control of all of the props that are being used on the set. There are set decorators. There are set designers. There are set technicians. There are electricians. There are lighting technicians. There's the lighting designer. There's a sound designer. There's a sound technician. There's a assistant director. There's a assistant director of photography. There are grips. There's the best boy electrician. There's just, I mean, if you've seen a movie and stayed for the credits, which I hope you're doing, by the way, a little hint. If you're watching any television or any movie, make sure you check out who the casting director is. But then you'll see this huge long list of all of the people that participated in that project. And it's just incredible. But it does take that many people to make a very, very well-made, well-crafted film. Now, of course, there are variations on what I've just described, a day in the life of being on a set, right? So you might be in a smaller budget, or you might be a television project and not a feature film. I mean, so those variations will have slightly different points of view to them when that opportunity happens to you. But I wanted to give you a sense of what it's like, just so that you are aware that this is a business, that you are one entity. You are not necessarily the star of the project. You are there to help facilitate exactly what the vision is of this particular script. And the director is there to help get you to that place where he can make a difference in that vision by working with you. Now, it's been very, very true that there are some directors who really have a difficult time talking to actors. They're not really sure. They don't really have a vocabulary. And so they'll talk in kind of another language sometimes. Please don't get frustrated by that. That's just sometimes a director is not an actor's director. As you've heard probably before, you're in a director's medium. The film is a director's medium. And so a film director can take an actor's performance and really make it unbelievably great. Or, for whatever reason, they can take a really good acting performance and diminish it so that it fits into the world of the piece that he's trying to create. So, relying on your director and being really open to the direction and really try to be responsive to that is a suggestion that I would make. So there you are, a day in the life on a film set. I hope that this has been useful to you. I'd love to know what you thought. Please let me know if this was helpful, if I should do more podcasts podcast videos on a day in the life on a movie set, because I would be more than happy to share sort of these realistic views of what it is to be a professional in the business of show. Thanks again for watching. I'm Jeffrey Dreisbach, your host on Casting Actors Cast.
Casting Actors Cast is made possible with your support just by listening. Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Caitlin Clark.